Joe, how the heck are you, man?
Mike, how are you, brother? You got a Smoking Aces thing back there? What is that?
Damn right. I got a
Nice, dude. I
Smoking
love
Aces
that.
poster
That's
back
cool.
there.
Brother, why don't you,
Respect.
by the way, you have the best setup. Why would you not put this on? This is great. Like, everybody else looks janky and they're on air. Yours actually looks like a real studio with, like, cool shit in it.
This is my home theater, man.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
love it.
See, bro, this is what I'm talking about. People that keep asking me, it's like, are you bummed the Rip's not going to play in theaters? Not when you have, look at your place, dude. I'd watch a movie there today.
It played friggin' great here, man.
Great.
It
That's
really
great,
did.
brother.
Congratulations on the Rip, because
Thank
I
you.
thoroughly enjoyed this one, like
Thank you.
many and probably all of your movies that I've seen. So
That's great. brother. I love
genuinely,
that.
congratulations on it.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, dude.
Yeah, it feels unmistakably like a Joe Carnahan joint. Hands sweaty.
Can I do
morally
that without Spike Lee
complicated.
suing me? I don't think I can. I think I'd get sued.
You can
dude.
get away with it. But I was just thinking that while I was watching it, it's wild that all of your cop movies, because you've done a decent amount,
Yeah.
they feel distinctive from one another. Like
Right.
Narc doesn't feel like Smoking Aces, doesn't feel like
Yeah.
Cop Shop
Right.
or, Boss Level or
Right.
this.
Yeah.
When you first start developing it, what feeling were you chasing to kind of set it apart from yours and other classic
Brother, I
cop
think that,
thrillers?
listen, we're all kind of, I grew up on there was Serpico, there was also Lethal Weapon, there was obviously Heat. Like, these were kind of, Thief, Michael, like those types of Sharky's Machine was a favorite film of mine. Burt Reynolds, like, when I was a kid. I just remember being how odd and how kind of left of center that film always felt to me. But I think that, the jam is you always go in trying to, like, you're trying to, at some level, reinvent things, right? And trying to kind of come up with new ways of doing old things, old tropes, and in that discovery, what can we do? How do we shoot an action scene? How do we? And that's the goal. And I always go into it. Juan Mi Esperos is my age. Kevin Hale's the editor's my age. So we have a real kind of symmetry around what we're trying to do and what we're pushing and what we want to. Again, like we're in our 50s. We just don't want to be like, we want to make a movie that's go, let's see a kid do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, so I think a lot of it, brother, it's like, but you're always looking for, listen, I made 7 movies with Juan Mi, 4 or 5 of which he's DP'd. And I don't think any of them are the same. They're all very, very, they're all different. Boss Level doesn't look like Cop Shop, doesn't look like The Rip, doesn't look like Not Without Hope, doesn't look like Shadow Force. It's like, there's great variance. And I think that's just a testament to how talented he is as a cinematographer.
And I was reading the press notes, and it said this was kind of inspired by a true story and a real
Yes.
person that you knew.
Yes.
But it plays like this kind of wild pressure cooker, whatever it might be. How much of a filmmaking challenge is it to both honor real details and build this like crazy tense thriller?
That's a great question,
around
brother.
it?
I think there was a tremendous amount of pressure and responsibility because this was based on Chris Cassiano, who's my buddy, who's Matt's character's loosely based on. But again, I used the very personal, very intimate detail of losing a child, and that's tough sledding in terms of, like, you don't want to ever feel exploitive. You don't want to feel like you're doing your friend a bad turn. And then I think once I got his blessing, once he understood that I was also, dude, in a way, trying to build something for him to kind of put this sadness and this grief into, and this monument, to his kid, and a kind of a memorial to his short time on this planet, and I thought that was super important, the most important thing. And once that was worked out, and once Chris understood and said, listen, bro, I trust you, and do your thing, then it allowed me to kind of engage the more cinematic, theatrical, narrative devices that you want inside of a film like this. So it was really, brother, the best of both worlds, because what that did, or what that grounding of this thing did, and using someone's, bits of ephemera from their life, from their actual life, in these real situations. Once that gets imputed in kind of the grand scheme of things, so to speak, you're still dealing with this. The engine remains very interpersonal. The engine remains about people and relationships and feelings and ethics and morals and betrayal and and trust, lack of trust, faith, karma. There's a lot of things that come to bear on that story that I think we just were able to work out and kind of nail the mix, and I think that was, but it's also testament to how many talented people I had working on that movie, dude.
I kind of want to stick on the real stories part because I was, I was looking at the part where you're like, there were cameras in the room and you heard about that and how, you would be like looking at the cameras going, okay, so someone's watching this, someone's going to be coming for this money.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. What other things are you getting from them where you're like, I can really make this something that it's like,
I
oh,
think, brother, the idea being when I heard that, being stuck, that you
yeah,
physically can't move because the money can't move until you've counted out because that's just procedure. Is I knew right away. It's like, oh my God, because again, in the real story, like Chris had a call from the guys at Homeland Security 10 minutes after how the fuck do you guys know about this money? So there was already like, it's the old thing. It's like, if three people know a secret and two of them aren't dead, it ain't a secret. You know what I mean? So that idea of them now on their back foot, figuring this out in the moment and fighting in reverse. It's like that to me is like, that's absolutely cinematic. And now you're still talking about an isolated, they're in this house. And I think, Mike, that's a great thing about the movie is like, you're not aware that you're at this house for an hour. You're just like, you know what I mean? Like you're and people said, it's like, shit, I realize I'm here for like an hour of the movie isn't, yeah, but because it's compelling and it's captivating, you're with it. You're intrigued by what's happening because of all the interpersonal stuff that you've set up. So I think that's a big, big part of it.
Matt and Ben, like we were talking about, amazing. They're both writers and directors and, studio people themselves. Right. They're all of it. Did having that kind of change the story significantly? Did they want to alter anything when they came in, or was it about shepherding it?
Brother, it was really about shepherding it and doing the best of what those guys are brilliant at, because you're talking about two truly like world-class filmmakers. Like these guys they got little gold guys as testament to that. But like when I tell you they gave me the grace and the freedom of doing what we needed to do, it would be an understatement. They were just magical in that way. And I think that was so helpful to know that, you don't want to feel, you like, I felt like I could do nothing wrong. It was like they were going to be there to support me and they understood what this was all about. And they got out of the way, and in the same way they made themselves totally available and accessible at all times. So it was really, it was one of those, it was the most fun and the most satisfying experience I've ever had working on a movie.
Nice.
Bar none, because of the level of support, the kind of the unconditional kind of like whatever you need, man, within reason. Yeah. But again, I think it's still a lean film. It functions as kind of but it never feels small, and I think that's just, again, I always say, 95% of movie making, directing is casting. And we just cast the shit out of this thing. Sharon Bialy and Sherry Thomas just cast the absolute shit out of this film and really we got everybody buying in at the same level, which is always lovely.
Didn't you almost work with them like multiple times? I know Smoking Aces, obviously Ben's in that. Yeah. But didn't you almost do Death Wish with like Matt and like another one with Ben or something like that?
Yeah, no, Matt and I, Matt, and it's like that, which is one of my favorite scripts, that Death Wish script. But yeah, we almost went down that road, and he wrote me the most extraordinary email at the time about it being it following him home. Like he was worried that the movie was such that it would follow him home, which is the greatest. Listen, you don't ever want to be like, it's a no, but a considered no. And the however ... was quite remarkable, and I was deeply flattered, and who knows, dude, we might revisit that. We're both older and wiser, and I think could fit those roles a little bit better now. I don't know, but that, yeah, man. And again, it's one of those things, brother, where it's like you're orbiting for many. And I'd gone into AE a couple times and talked about different scripts and whatever else, and I just really wanted to work there.
Yeah,
and with them and with Danny Bernfeld and with these people that I came to really like and admire and wanted to mob up and kind of Wonder Twin powers the whole thing,
Heck yeah. There's a story making the rounds, obviously, about you guys making a deal, to get the crew bonuses based on performance of the film. How tough is that to accomplish? And do you think that's sustainable, or is it just like we have Matt and Ben going to bat for this, and
Oh,
that
I
really
think this is
helps?
Matt and Ben making a statement and kind of taking a stand. By the way, and I think and I applaud Netflix for saying absolutely. Like they
Hell yeah.
get that as the business has both contracted and then shifted seismically in the way that we do things. There's gonna be a natural, action reaction type of a thing that's happening here. And I think that people want to know, listen, if we do something that's lights out, you get compensated thusly. It's like it's the same, that's the studio, that's the model, the residual model. So I think doing that and also doing that for everybody,
Mhm.
it's what listen, I think Steven Soderbergh, they had that fingerprinting kind of aspect that he did on was it Logan Lucky, the NASCAR film, where it's like everybody in success, everybody wins, and you could go online and see how the film would perform and literally see what your cut of the movie was. And I think that if you can enshrine a crew in that way and embody them in this way with that kind of like, hey guys, it's good for everybody, and create that communal sense of shared reality and responsibility and that's kind of remarkable, man. And
Yeah.
again, I think that they're doing the right things. They know it's the right thing to do. You know?
Good. Well, hopefully it happens
Yeah.
more. I noticed also in the press notes you were calling Steven Yeun, who's also amazing here, the smartest, the least pretentious actor you've ever worked with. Um, was there a specific moment on set where you're like it clicked with you in a real way, where you're like, "Whoa, this guy's
You
something
know what it is,
else."
brother? Steve is so unselfish in terms of like when he talks to you, he really is talking about the movie as a living organism, not his performance, which is obviously he wants to come in with his thoughts and his obviously he knows it's a participatory, like he's going to get in there and do his thing. But everything was always he just we had long discussions about how he felt about things and also like the responsibility he took as a Korean American man, like like there's to the Asian community there was a lot of these things that like on the surface would feel like yeah and I understood them to be. And also Steve is a Detroit guy, man. I grew up in Michigan. I moved out to California when I was a kid, but all my relatives, everybody's still in Michigan. And I said to Steve, it's like, I understand that like you come from, culture, like you're Korean. You remind me of my cousins, man. You're like a Detroit boy. You're a city kid. Like he really has the embodiment of that Midwestern kind of Michigan, Detroit, hard scrabble, UAW, like everybody worked for Ford or GM or whatever at one point, all their relatives, so and then and yet he's able to kind of dial it into this really kind of profound singular level with that performance. And he just got I was telling him, my favorite shot in the whole film is the end. Is like him sitting there kind of in his regret and his dread and his state of duress and the remorse that just exudes off of him is just wonderful, man. It's great to see.
So speaking of the end, when you have people sitting there, they finish the rip. What are you hoping that they're sitting there kind of discussing, arguing about, chewing over afterwards?
Brother, I hope that, listen, in the best of both worlds, they'd immediately watch it again. Oh, okay, what did we miss? We're missing something here? What did we, I want to see, now I understand that this was a Rube Goldberg contraption and there was a mouse trap. Now I want to see how you built it, right? So I think that's would be cool. It's like, oh shit, I didn't, oh, there's the phone books, there's the this, there's the that. There's little indicators throughout the movie. Green is the color of money, obviously. Red is Jackie. Blue is cops. So we did things very specifically that again, Juan Me and I, and we spent a lot of time with Russ Faust, the gaffer, who's just a brilliant guy, talking about what these things meant. And the way we approach them is less from from a practical standpoint. It's from a filmmaking standpoint. What are we trying to convey with light and shadow and color and movement and where the camera goes and why it does what it does? It's like we're very specific in that way. And there's certain things, brother, I thought it's like, is the audience going to bounce on this because Ben's walking out of focus and back
Mm,
into focus? But I thought it was just such a cool
yeah, that's cool.
shot, and it was his. I'm showing you this guy's frame of mind. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Therefore, it's blurry, And I like that stuff. I'd rather make that choice, dude, than be like just shoot him long over here because there's a great that I like the way the trees. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Right.
We're building thesis statements around the reasons why we put the shots together the way we put them together.
Whenever I speak with Frank Grillo, which I'm pretty sure I spoke to him for Cop
Which you
Shop
shouldn't.
and
You should
Boss
try to
Level.
limit as many times as you speak to Grillo.
Yeah,
It's a good life.
an experience. Regardless, I highly recommend Cop Shop and Boss Level if people haven't checked those out.
Yes,
Both
indeed.
are so well done.
Yes.
Whenever we talk, I always bring up The Raid because I believe you two at one point
Yes.
were going to remake it for a
Yes.
while there.
Yeah.
Is there no chance of that?
Brother,
at this
we
point?
have a script that is honestly is like, I know that they were developing something, but the one we put together, which I did it, I wrote it on spec with the idea that if we did it, I wanted to make it modular so that if we couldn't come to an arrangement with the raid, that we could take those elements out and it would be my script. And that's what wound up coming to pass, is that we couldn't reach an agreement with the producers. And so I just pulled it and it became its own thing. I think in a lot of ways, because of its conceit, it's better than just the way it's written. It's a much more fundamentally emotional film than the original. It's very much, you feel these things with these characters very, very innately. And I'd love to be able to do that, man. And listen, anytime that Frank and I can reunite and get back on the floor together is going to be a joy. And you know what? We're going to do something fucking cool. That's guaranteed. And so I look forward to that, to when we can do it again.
Hopefully
And
that one
hopefully
gets
that
made.
one, brother, because it's a really good script.
Is that Leo from Toledo, or which one is that?
God, that was another one. Leo from Toledo is another one. I mean, there's so many movies now that hopefully I have a shot to go make because this thing works. And you know what I mean? It's like
Hear,
I
hear.
get plugged into these, it would be fantastic. But yeah, man, there's a bunch of them.
I was reading recently that you were talking about this kind of like unmade trilogy of Daredevil films that you set in the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that would have been cool. And then you were saying that, street level heroes are still maybe on the table for you. Which ones do you think intrigue you the most?
You know what, dude? I'll say this because it's so funny. I was up north visiting my folks, and I always stay nearby in this place, Sassoon City, which is right next door to. It's right on the Delta, but it's right next door to where I grew up. And there was a comic book shop there, and I went in. I just asked him, "Do you guys have ROM Space Knight?" Because I was when I was a kid, brother. That toy came out, and then Marvel did the series that was really fantastic. And it's the only time I thought I would do something like ROM, because I just love the idea of it, the concept of it. But I do think that the Daredevil that I would have wanted to do, like the 1973, like Hell's Kitchen, and that was going to be like classic rock, and then it was going to be Daredevil 79, which is punk rock, and then Daredevil 85, which is new wave. We had this really cool kind of. But I think that, listen, it's like when you've done it as well as Chris Nolan did it, the Batman films, and that's just done as well as it can be done. And then on the other end of the spectrum, when you've with Raimi with the second Spider-Man, which I just love, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. I mean, I just love that movie. It's what that run that Marvel had from 2008 to 2018. I loved those Avengers. I loved those. Those are beloved movies. It's like at the same time, it's hard. I don't know. I'd rather make the rip. I'd rather make because it just. I don't, and maybe it's my own selfishness. I don't want to spend 2.5 years on one movie. I'm like, I got a lot of shit to say. Wait, not all of it great, but that expressive. It's like, and I have great appreciation. One of my dear friends, Rawson Thurber, did Voltron.
Yep.
And it's apparently tested really, really high. And I shouldn't be saying this. I'm talking out of school or whatever. But like,
all good.
But I watched the amount of labor, the amount of love, the amount of affection you have to give those things. Also, and all these. Listen, you got to cross all these T's and dot all these I's. And sometimes people's I's are T's, and sometimes people's T's are I's. You know what I mean? So that is a level of sophistication that's very hard for me to wrap my head around. And I think it's. It's like I was just reading. I think it was Wes Anderson talking about Chris Nolan. I wish I knew how he did the things he does. It's that extra layer of filmmaking. You go, wow, man. And that's the thing. I'm like a massive fan of all of my contemporaries because I love movies. I love that Chris made a movie about Robert Oppenheimer that made $1 billion. I think that's one of the great testaments to the enduring power of movies and cinema. is fucking Oppenheimer. It's like, it just is like lovely. I mean, and when I first watched it, I liked it. I watched it again. I really liked it. I watched it third. I loved it. It's like, I had a great, like, I'm like, wow. And this guy's playing, you talk about 4D chess. I just adored it for being a movie that was that ballsy. And I don't know anybody but that guy can pull that off. And that's something else, man. That really is.
He's uniquely his own thing, just like you are uniquely your own thing.
But Chris is like, listen, I'm breaking boards. That guy's a kung fu master. It's like that.
Yeah.
That is, I just love that. I love that. I love that still exists, and I love that like the Odyssey like has 120 million views of a trailer. And, like that shows you that like don't tell me that this stuff is all. It doesn't matter. It does matter, and movies do matter, and cinema does matter. These things are absolutely important to people. They're vital to people. And that is reinforces that notion. These are very, very critical things to us.
I'll wrap on this.
Sure.
Looking back across your career, what do you think is your most underrated film, or the one that you wish people bring up more?
Brother, it's probably a toss-up between Stretch and Boss Level. Because Stretch I made for $5 million, and I love that little movie with every ounce of my being. It's my girlfriend's favorite film of mine, right? Favorite. Boss Level, just because I thought Frank just turned in one of the great performances of, and it's so funny because you ask him and he goes, "This is my Joe Carnahan impersonation. I'm doing Joe," but I love it. It's like indie. It's like and I love that we go from decapitations and this crazy bullshit to like suddenly, this guy's son is dying every time. Like I just love that turn, and I thought we nailed it, and I thought not enough people saw it. And I'm hoping, if anything, man, it's like if the rip gives people an appreciation, go, what else has this fucking bozo done? And they start looking at those things, I'd be very happy with that. I'd be very happy.
Both of those are super fun.
Thanks, brother.
I appreciate you giving me a few extra minutes here.
Oh, come on. My pleasure, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I'll just say The Rip hits Netflix on January 16th. It's amazing. Check it out over and over again. And
yes,
hopefully
please.
we get more Carnahan joints on Netflix.
We need more of those.